What is going on YouTube? I'm Lamont at large. Today we are at the Greenwood Cemetery here in Fort Worth, Texas. Sharon Van Cleef Valentine, 1942 to 1972. She was a resident of Fort Worth since she was a baby. She went to SMU, graduated here, and then moved over to Indiana to attend Ball State University, where she received a music degree. At the time of her death, she was a teacher at Westdale High School in Muncie, Indiana, and she died in her home of what it says, an accidental gunshot wound to the chest. She was taken to the hospital where she died about 4 hours after she arrived. She was 29 years of age at the time of her death. It looks like she died maybe April 2nd or April 3rd of 1972. And these are her parents over here. Winona and Farron Van Cleef. That's all it says. It doesn't really say if it was really an accident or she was married at the time. And that's it. Together forever, married March 24th, 1945. And they died about 4 months apart. They were married for 56 years. And, you know, oftentimes that's just what happens a lot when I see these stones. You'll see people that are married 40, 50. I've even seen it a couple times where they were married 60 years. And then when one dies, that's it. The other one just wants to be with the other and together forever. Marion and Dorotha Quinn are here. Floyd and Drezzy, 1908 to 1948. Floyd died when she was 40 years old in a hospital in Leavenworth, Washington. Doesn't say in the obituary how she passed. Paul Wallace Urey, July 18th, 1945 to April 5th, 1958. Paul and his older brother David, 16 years old, were in a garage when it caught on fire. They were both badly burned, but Paul was even more so badly burned and was taken to the hospital where he died of his injuries. His older brother received burns to his face, arms, and his chest, but he survived. An employee in the area where the garage fire happened came to grab the boys, and he was severely burned on his hands. So arson investigators went to the scene, and it was determined that it was a, quote, gasoline fire. It didn't say whether the boys were playing with the gasoline or not, but that is how it started. This is Jerry Dean Tucker to my right and James Hudson Tucker to my left. Jerry, she died in a car accident while it was raining here in Fort Worth off the West Freeway. Slid off into an embankment. She was 35 years of age at the time, and her husband, James, known on the air as Jim Tucker, says online he was a news anchor for KBTV here, Channel 11 here in Dallas, Fort Worth, and he was also for many years a disc jockey in and around the air of Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas. This is Ray Deanda, and he's buried alongside of his mother right here. Ray was in a pickup truck with his cousin who was visiting him from Ohio, and they were on the freeway here, and they crashed into a back of a semi-truck trailer, and they both died at the scene. This is Van Clyburn, and he was a very, very famous and accomplished piano player. His mother was a piano player and a teacher, and one day she just seen him playing the piano as a 3-year-old and mimicking one of her students. So then she, of course, realized that he had a natural talent. And let's say this really quickly. She wasn't trying to teach him the piano then. He was only 3. But she could see that, okay, this kid of mine likes the piano, and he played all over the world to sold out shows and theaters, and he played for President Harry Truman and President Barack Obama. He was originally from Shreveport, Louisiana, and he died here February 27th of 2013 at the age of 78. Very, very nice in here. This place is just as nice as the one mausoleum that I seen up in northern Nevada. I believe I was in Reno. If you guys go back at my video, that was the nicest mausoleum that I had seen at the time. And this one, it does rival it. It's very, very nice in here. There was a man here that I sparked up a conversation with. He was here visiting his granddad. He was about maybe 70 years of age, and he told me that his great-great-great-great-grandfather got into a gunfight with Butch Cassidy down in Waco. His great-great-great-great-grandfather was an outlaw, and Butch Cassidy ran him and his friends out of Texas for about a decade until they came back when the coast was clear. So he was here visiting his grandfather, and he showed me this grave right here. This is Harold Edmund Giles. He worked for him back in the 70s. He ran an oil drilling company, and he said that his company developed some form of or a way of drilling in the ground to get more oil out of it. At the height of his company, they were world sales were, or revenues, excuse me, about $500 million. And in 1980, he bought the Texas Rangers, and he owned it up until 1989. Then he sold it to a group of investors that included future President George W. Bush. And while he was here, he also showed me an interesting grave that I probably would have missed if it wasn't for him. And this is Ben Hogan. Ben Hogan, of course, a very famous golfer. I knew the name, but I'm not a big golfing fan, but he was very, very famous, particularly in the 50s. He won the Masters in 1951 and 1953, the PGA Championship 1946 and 1948. He won the U.S. Open 1948, 1950, 1951, 1953, and he won the Open in 1953. And he's also credited with being somewhat of like a teacher or a prodigy of how the different swings and the human body and the mechanics of those swings So thank you to that man. I wish I would have caught his name, but if it wasn't for him, he wouldn't. I wouldn't have known that Ben Hogan was here, along with Mr. Giles right over there. This year is Spencer Dent. He was 9 years old when he was killed in a riding accident at Chile, Colorado camp, a camp that is in Colorado. I don't believe it was a horse riding accident because it said in the paper after the family had settled with the camp for the death of Spencer here, they had posted a public apology in the newspaper stating that they were going to do better background checks for their camp counselors, including driver license records and FBI background checks. And they were going to do a better job of doing safety protocols and checks, including when it comes to thunderstorms and hailstorms. So I'm not exactly sure what happened here, but you can kind of surmise that it was some form of a automobile accident at the camp. Michael Earl Myers of Fort Worth, owner of National Paint and Body Shop, died Tuesday at his business. He was 41 years of age. Funeral was Friday at Greenwood Funeral Home. Burial was in Greenwood Cemetery. Mr. Myers was born in Fort Worth and attended Paschal High School. He was the owner of National Paint and Body and R&L Record Service for 12 years. Doesn't say his cause of death. Barbara Lou Evans, April 10th, 1932 to August 30th, 1947. An angel visited the green earth and took a flower away. Barbara Lou died in a motorcycle accident. She was riding on the back. I don't know if it was her boyfriend or her friend, and they got into an accident. The boy, he died instantly, and she survived the initial accident but was taken to the hospital, but she died within about 2 hours. This is the grave of Arthur Louis Zigglemeyer III, July 2nd, 1947 to January 27th, 1968. He was a college student at the time, 20 years of age. He went to Southmost College in South Texas, and he was found shot to death in a drainage canal about 5 miles outside of Brownsville, Texas. So the story gets quite murky because, of course, this is over 50 years ago. But after the sheriff of Brownsville was interviewing his friends about possibly what happened, he was last seen alive in Matamoros, Mexico, which is a border town across the border from Brownsville. And some of his friends said that he was trying to sell his car. Other of his friends said he was trying to trade his car for a couple pounds of marijuana. I don't know what happened. I don't know if it was a drug deal gone bad or what have you. But the investigation kind of disappears. As of the summer of 1968, his murder was unsolved. I don't know if the guys that shot him were from Mexico. I don't know if they were his friends. I don't know if anybody talked. But that's as far as I can see to where if his murder was ever solved. Live but not live, but still alive by the grace of God. I'm Lamont at large at the Greenwood Cemetery here in Fort Worth, Texas. Thank you for watching. I always appreciate it. I'll catch up with you on the next vlog. Peace out.